I'm Shelly Palmer.
I'm Ross Martin.
And you're listening to Think About This.
Today we're going to think about whether or not 5G causes cancer.
We'll chat with Brian McNamara, CEO of GSK Consumer Healthcare, about the future of personal health.
Why Google bought Fitbit.
The ethics behind hacking humans, and much, much more.
So welcome to Think About This.
The more you listen,
the less you know.
Hey, Ross.
Hey, Shelly.
So today we're going to talk about taking care of yourself.
Not taking care of yourself.
Huh?
Taking care of yourself.
Oh.
You put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I guess I did.
In today's healthcare reality, we have no choice but to take care of ourselves.
Well, you know, Ross, I've replaced my doc.
With?
A Google Doc.
Ooh.
No, seriously. When I go to the doctor, if there's something wrong, the doctor will almost always send me to a specialist.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the specialists send you to specialists.
Yes.
And that specialist sends you to a specialist. And then I guess they report back to the GP, but I don't know if any of those records are anywhere. So behold,
your Google Doc.
This is my Google Doc.
Look at this.
And it's basically simple. It's the doctor, the date, what they said. It's not that long.
Well, it's comprehensive.
But it is comprehensive. The problem is I felt like I needed to have it. And I think a lot of people don't know, but they probably should have one too.
Because if we're not taking care of ourselves,
who will?
That's what we're going to explore on this episode of Think About This. Hey, Shelly.
Hey, Ross.
So I'm in a Lyft and I'm driving down 7th Avenue and I pass the home of my beloved Knicks, and Madison Square Garden's got a huge Verizon 5G sign saying 5G is here, New York, we did it. And it's like taking that victory lap.
Yeah.
And my Lyft driver points out the window at the sign and he looks back at me and goes, cancer.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh God, he's saying that 5G causes cancer. Does 5G cause cancer?
No, 5G is not a known carcinogen. When researchers determine that something's a carcinogen, they provide very clear, specific protocols to avoid it. So far, the only thing even related to 5G that's been classified as a carcinogen are cell phones themselves.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly the point. I've got an article right here in front of me. It says in 2011, the WHO, the World Health Organization, put cell phones on the list of class 2B carcinogens.
Yeah, keep reading.
Okay, wait, right. Other class 2B carcinogens include pickles, aloe vera leaf extract,
yes,
and being a firefighter.
Yeah, that is actually the point, Ross. Yeah, the warning about cell phones from WHO. I would paraphrase it like this. Don't use your cell phone as a pillow. Or maybe to put it a little crasser, don't sleep with your cell phone. That said, cancer is serious business, Ross, especially to me. So this is a topic that is absolutely worthy of exploration.
Definitely.
So think about this. There have been people claiming that electromagnetic radiation causes cancer from the advent of 2G cellular networks. This isn't new, and it's not news. In 2000, in Broward County, Florida, the school system asked a guy named Bill Curry, who's a physicist and a consultant, to study the impact of microwave radiation on school children. And the guy concluded that, quote, it's likely to be a serious health hazard, unquote. And as evidence, he referenced this graph that he labeled the microwave absorption in brain tissue gray matter chart. And the graph has become a very popular meme. I'm sure you've seen it on the internet.
Of course.
Yeah. So look, the problem is his report, his methodology, and his conclusions have all been called into question by so many scientists, it's basically be impossible to name them all.
Okay, just name a few.
Well, let me think. Okay. Christopher Collins, a professor of radiology at NYU, pretty much, I think, sums up the criticisms concisely. He goes, Curry's work failed to take, quote, the shielding effect of the human body into account. And what that means, Ross, is, look, there is all kinds of electromagnetic radiation swirling all around us all the time, and we're naturally selected to be shielded from it. Dr. Khalil Abdullah, a brain tumor neurosurgeon at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, he agrees as well. And he says there's simply no credible scientific evidence linking any cellular network, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, any G, to increases in brain tumors or other types of cancer.
Okay, I get all that, but I cannot be the only one who's seeing the memes on social. If you were to type in 5G cancer, you'd immediately see what I'm looking at, which is hashtag radiation kills, with headlines like 5G experiment in the Netherlands is a resounding failure, and then the picture of a dead bird. Or 5G is high frequency radiation murder. And it's these like sort of crime scene, do not cross signs, right? And are you okay with being irradiated by whatever wave radiation. Did you consent to this? And then I guess from a marketing perspective, the call to action, let's kill 5G before 5G kills us.
So, Ross, I'll tell you what, your guess is as good as mine. When I look at this, there's just no scientific basis for the sensationalistic claims. Now, it's true. Some electromagnetic waves are carcinogenic. You know what they are. Ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma rays. That's what made the Hulk. You should probably avoid extreme exposure to all of them. And, there is a known correlation between exposure to UV radiation and certain types of skin cancer. The whole sunblock industry is based on the thesis that humans need to be protected from UV radiation. But UV radiation is a type of ionizing radiation, and it's known to be harmful. And I don't want to make your eyes glaze over, but remember the spectrum from grade school?
Of course. Roy G. Biv. There's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I love Roy the best.
Yeah.
Roy's my favorite.
Right. My favorite too. So visible light, like the spectrum, microwaves, radio waves, they're all known as non-ionizing radiation. It has enough energy to move atoms in a molecule around or cause them to vibrate, but not enough to remove electrons from atoms. And your body's naturally shielded from the amount of non-ionizing radiation we're generally exposed to. Now that said, there's another type of radiation, and it is something else entirely. It's called ionizing radiation, and it has so much energy, it can knock electrons out of atoms in a process that's known as...
Wait, let me guess. Ionization.
Oh, you did study.
I went to science.
I'm so proud of you, Ross.
Yes.
So that's not only a good guess, it's exactly right. Ionizing radiation comes from X-ray machines, it comes from cosmic particles from outer space, and of course, nuclear reactor kind of stuff. Ionizing radiation is dangerous, which is why you get covered in a lead blanket when you get an X-ray and go to the dentist and they're going to clean your teeth or something, and then they need your X-ray, they cover you in the lead blanket.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, what does that have anything to do with 5G and cell phones?
It has nothing to do with 5G, Ross, because 5G electromagnetic waves are in the non-ionizing part of the spectrum.
Okay, I get it. Look, here's the thing. There's got to be something here. Just because it hasn't been scientifically proven yet does not mean it doesn't exist.
Hello.
There could still be a danger.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And at the moment, not only is there not enough evidence to conclude that 5G is dangerous, because basically there's none,
right.
But think about this. I wrote an essay on ShellyPalmer.com with the brilliant title,
which is,
Does 5G Cause Cancer?
Brilliant title.
Yeah, it is. And one of my friends suggested the following line of reasoning, which I love. Since studies of millions of people have not been able to discern a meaningful correlation between cellular network radiation and cancer, the incidence must be very, very low. Let's call it 1 in a million. You following me?
I'm following you.
Okay. So if such a cancer took 20 years off a person's life, then the expected value of the average reduction of life expectancy would be 20 years, which is roughly 10,519,200 minutes, right?
You did that in your head?
Yeah. Now you divide that by 1 million people, and that equals about 10.5 minutes of life lost per person.
Yes.
So Ross, here's the question. Would you be willing to eliminate your cell phone, which saves you hours every month and provides you great joy, in return for living roughly 10 minutes longer?
It reminds me of Alana Mugden from our last episode, who gave up using her smartphone for a year.
Not only my smartphone, but any smartphone.
When you put it like that, it doesn't seem like a worthy trade-off, because I'm not giving it up.
You're not. And by the way, the danger's just not that great.
It's not. Think about that.
I'm David Stern. You're listening to Think About This. The more you listen, the less you know.
Ross, did you know that there are more than 750,000 podcasts available on Apple Podcasts?
A giant number.
Yeah, no, it is a giant number. And they're probably more than that, to tell you the truth. We debuted at number 23 in the technology category a couple weeks ago.
Woohoo! That's awesome. So what do we have to do to get to number 1?
Yeah, well, I knew you were going to ask me that. We need about 1 million listeners a week, and we need everyone to go to Apple Podcasts and give us a great review and a 5-star rating.
Seems simple enough.
Yeah. Well, how are we going to do that?
It's easy, Shelly. We're going to politely ask everyone to now open the podcast app from Apple, search for us, which is Think About This with Shelly Palmer and Ross Martin, and then write something nice about us and give us a 5-star rating.
Please do that. Hey, Ross, have you heard about CRISPR?
Yes. When CRISPR was first introduced, it sort of changed the world of genetic engineering. Why? Because it allowed researchers for the first time to be able to cut and paste DNA.
Yeah, that's right. But, when they cut and paste DNA, all kinds of weird stuff happens, and the results are very unpredictable.
All right, so check this out. I read this report by this Harvard biologist named David Liu. I'm sure you saw it. And it describes this new process that he calls prime editing, which is more like search and replace than cut and paste.
Yep.
And so he says if CRISPR is like scissors, and I quote, then base editors are like a pencil. And you could think of prime editors as a word processor capable of precise search and replace.
Yeah, so think about this. Genetic editing is progressing on an exponential curve. And you know what that means?
What?
That means that we are exponentially closer to designer organisms of every kind. Humans, food supply, pesticides, weapons, specifically bioterrorism weapons, and pretty much any other good or evil stuff you can think of.
Yes, and most people are thinking that's not going to happen for millions of years. But Shelly Palmer is here to tell you, not so.
No, we're on an exponential curve, Ross. That means it is close, really close. It doesn't seem like it's close, but it's really close. So my big question is, you now have the opportunity, Ross Martin, to make a designer baby.
Oh, shit.
Are you going to do it?
I knew you'd ask the question.
Because that's a normal question you ask.
No.
Are you going to make a designer baby?
Absolutely not.
And because?
I have two that I love. They're perfect. Why would I do anything different?
So they do a test on your nascent embryo and they say the child that's born from this particular embryo may find itself susceptible to certain diseases. Wouldn't you want to minimize those chances?
Yes, you convinced me. Yes.
I'm looking for a moral equivalency here. We both agree that to reduce suffering, you'd be willing to genetically engineer.
I would.
Okay. So my ACL on my right leg has been replaced, and it's actually better than the one that I was given when I was born in my left leg.
Okay.
If I had a child that was playing football and they're going to be a professional football player.
You know they're going to if they're your child, they'll be born with maybe not an awesome ACL.
So would you replace them both prophylactically?
No.
Okay. But people do. And then moral equivalent.
Yep.
If you have a smart kid, but they're in a very competitive world and you let them take ADHD drugs so that they're better at being smart.
But they don't need the drug.
They don't need them because they're already smart, but you're enhancing the kid's opportunity to be great. People do that too. So is that morally equivalent to cut and paste gene splicing?
This is so tough. And in a sense, it actually doesn't matter. Because whether you or I genetically engineer the next generation of Palmers or Martins, it doesn't matter. You know why?
Why?
Because there's millions of people planning to do it already. Think about that.
Hey, Ross.
Shelly.
How you doing today?
Better.
Yeah, how's your back?
It's getting there. I took some Excedrin.
You did not.
I did.
No, you did. Do you normally take Excedrin?
Of course I do.
Is this like some kind of paid promotional announcement?
No.
Thank goodness.
We just so happen to have somebody on the show who's related to Excedrin.
Somebody?
Yeah.
We have Brian McNamara, the CEO of GSK Consumer Healthcare, the largest pain management organization on planet Earth. And by the way, the makers of Excedrin. You suck up.
What's up, Brian?
What's up, Brian?
Hey, Shelly. Hey, Ross. How you guys doing?
Welcome to the show, man. Great to have you.
Great to be here.
So, Brian, I've been telling Ross all about the magic of consumer healthcare in the 21st century. And Ross looks at me like I have two heads and goes, really? Seriously? It's consumer healthcare.
Well, I feel that way because I'm still getting over the fact that I am going to get my flu shot today at a drugstore. I mean, I would never walk into a drugstore and let anyone touch me with a needle. So obviously things have changed, Brian, and I'm a little behind, and I don't think I'm the only one.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the industry is changing incredibly rapidly.
There are something like 7.2 billion people on planet Earth now.
Yep.
And they say by 2050, we're going to be hitting something like 9 billion people. That's the estimate that you see all the time.
Yeah.
So if everybody who wanted to become a doctor could become one, and that's not going to happen. But if everybody who ever wanted to be a doctor could become one, there wouldn't be enough doctors. There just can't be. So
no, totally true.
So what's the role of consumer healthcare in a world where we're just going to have less and less doctors?
We really have to think about branching out from what today is an industry, which is very much like you have a headache, you take an Excedrin. If you want to proactively manage your health, you take a vitamin. To, we're the largest over-the-counter pain relief company in the world. The real question for us is, how do we solve people's pain problems? How do we help them have less pain in the world? And that's much more than about providing a medicine when that pain comes, right? And how do we build an ecosystem around consumers to help them really manage that? Because there isn't going to be enough doctors in the world, and people are going to need to take a more proactive role in managing their health. And
so what does that mean? How does that even look?
Well, I think that looks around how do you build a platform that allows consumers to more holistically manage their health, to be able to understand better taking the pain example, what causes that pain? What are the things that they do that can help minimize that pain? And that's about using all the information and data that's coming in now with wearables, and that's going to explode as time goes on, using all that to really help them manage their overall holistic health. And that's a real transformation for the industry from a place today, which is, again, it's about, you have a problem, we give you a pill.
Well, Brian, it used to be that when you say something like managing my health, that was the job of my GP. My doctor was managing my health. And you've subtly made a shift here in this conversation about how I'm managing my own health. And I personally feel ill-equipped to do so. When did we make that transition from my medical professionals managing my care to me taking responsibility for it, and why?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think it's a transition that's happening. So I still think GPs still play a big role, but there is this element of, and we know that of those 7.2 billion consumers Shelly mentioned, 77% of them want to take more control of their health because, healthcare systems aren't always delivering what consumers need. And I think that's the shift that's really happening, is that with all the data that's available, with the access to information, people are much more empowered to do that.
So what do you think people don't know about what's coming next?
I think it's really how all this data, which now is a bit in bits and pieces. You have your Fitbit and you have your Apple Watch and you have kind of pieces of information here and there about your health and how you sleep and how many steps you take and all this. And I think the opportunity is to how do you consolidate that and put it in a cohesive way and help people understand how to act upon that data. Like right now, it's just information, right?
So, Brian, when I look at the business of consumer healthcare, all human beings are unique. Everyone's got slightly different reactions to all kinds of pills and potions. As this data becomes available, you have an opportunity to use digital in a way that it hasn't been used. But are people ready to give over that amount of data? And are people ready to have you use that to customize the pills and potions and or the remedies that you'll be giving? And is that something that's even possible at scale?
Yeah, so I think the whole idea of personalized medicine, I think, is real and something that's going to happen. We have a group at GSK we call GSK Next, and this is the group that is working on much more of the future-facing things, a potential platform that could help consumers kind of predict and understand when migraines may come. And if, I don't know if you guys, either you guys have migraines, but it's extremely debilitating. And in that context, consumers are willing to give you data if they know that that return is going to be worth it. What they don't want to do is give you data because you're going to go use it for something. The value equation really has to be there. And if it's important enough to them and it's meaningful enough and you can add that value, then I think consumers are willing. If it's not, they're not.
Is the future personalized medicine at the scale of over-the-counter? Is that a goal? Is that something that can be tested? Or is there a whole other way that we're going to be looking at pain management? The way we think about a drugstore, clearly that can't be the same forever. So what do you think?
I think there is going to be a section of the population that will want personalized medicine and will be willing to give you information about themselves and about their health so you can customize what they would need to kind of manage their health. That's absolutely going to be out there. It's something that we're thinking about and working on and testing in a couple areas. In 10 or 15 years, I mean, it may move there pretty significantly. I don't think it's happening tomorrow, but it is happening in places today, to be clear.
Brian, thanks so much. Brian McNamara, the CEO of GSK Consumer Healthcare, the largest pain management organization on planet Earth.
So, Shelly, I love that guy because he is a powerhouse in the healthcare industry globally.
Yep, absolutely.
And yet he's like a normal, chill guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So the thing about Brian that I'm trying to wrap my head around is he says it'll take 10 to 15 years to personalize medicine.
That's what he said.
But why would it take that long?
So Brian has a really good handle on what's happening, and he knows that the science is pretty much here now, and he also knows that it's progressing on an exponential curve. Think about this. What he also knows is that he's distributed in roughly 130 countries in about 80 different languages, and that every single market that GSK Consumer Health products are sold in is regulated. And it's regulated by a health department, by a government, by special policies. And so the supply chain side, the packaging side, the business rules side, the lawyer side, the liability insurance side, all of that is what takes a ton of time. So when he says 10 to 15 years, you can believe it, not because the science isn't there, because the business is going to take that long to move the product from place to place.
This isn't a science challenge. This is a business challenge.
Yes.
Think about that. Shelly, I remember a while back you were super into the quantified self movement.
You know I was.
And I watched you track everything about yourself as much as you possibly could.
Yeah, that's the whole quantified self thing, right? You pretty much track everything you do. First it was steps, then every morsel of food you put in your mouth, which I still do to this day.
Yeah, I mean, you are looking very fit.
Thank you.
But how come you're not wearing your smartwatch?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. I don't wear one anymore. I was super into fitness trackers and smartwatches, but it's over.
Okay, so you mean you're done with them?
No. I mean, it's over. There's just no point. I do have an Apple Watch Series 4, and I just got an Apple Watch Series 5, and Apple is the de facto winner in the smartwatch game. I'm not wearing it today because, well, I'm not. But Apple Health is on track to change healthcare, and between their privacy policy and the way they've embraced the research community, there is great stuff going on. But every other company, Ross, no matter who you look at, they're doomed. There's basically three kinds of trackers now. You got purpose-built training tools, which are, be a better runner, be a better swimmer, be a better cyclist. Then there's medical monitoring, and then there are smartphone companions. But all of them pale by comparison to what Apple is doing. To tell you the truth, I don't think anybody's catching them.
So are you saying that wearables are no longer a thing?
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, think about this. You said Apple's dominating the smartwatch business.
Yep.
They captured about 46% of the market in Q2.
See?
But Google is feeling some FOMO. Mm-hmm. On November 1st, Google paid $2.1 billion, Shelly, to acquire Fitbit.
Yeah.
$2.1 billion to buy Fitbit.
I saw.
With roughly 24% of the wearables market, right? Yeah. So Fitbit's now the second biggest player. How do you explain that?
Think, McFly.
Google's existing wearable strategy makes no sense. And Fitbit's wearable strategy just isn't working. And Wear OS, which is the operating system, it requires more processing power and more battery life than you can basically put in a smartwatch. So the user experience for Wear OS is awful. And I'm being kind. So it's a giant head scratcher, Ross. Who at Google thinks that a health-conscious human being is going to willingly contribute their personal health information, their PHI, to the Borg?
Google already knows more about you than you do, but let's pretend for a second that Google would agree to keep your personal health data private. Mm-hmm. Without data to turn into profits.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for Google to get into this at all. But apparently Google has 2.1 billion reasons to get serious about wearables now. I guess we'll just have to watch it.
Oh.
Okay, time will tell.
Shelly.
Don't get ticked off.
Seriously?
Was this report secondhand information?
Oh my God.
Hey, Ross, we have a website.
It's thinkaboutthis.fm.
Yep, that's what it is. So could you tell everyone to please visit thinkaboutthis.fm to subscribe?
Happy to, Shelly. You can subscribe to Think About This at, you guessed it, thinkaboutthis.fm, or you can do it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, or wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcasts.
And if you do happen to subscribe at Apple Podcasts, would you please write something nice about Ross in the review section and give us 5 stars?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Ross, a tech startup sent me a sample of this super hot new product to review.
You get all the coolest stuff. Oh, wow. Look at this. It's a string.
It's not a string. They call it an AirPod strap.
What?
It's an AirPod strap.
What do you do with it?
Well, let's see. It says here that you attach each end of the string to one of your AirPods, and then you wear them.
So you're basically just adding a wire to your wireless AirPods.
Well, yes, that's the idea. And then when one of your AirPods falls out, it's attached to the string strap, and you won't lose it.
All right, let me understand this. So you take this wire that you're handing me, and I'm supposed to attach an AirPod to each side of it and then wear my wireless AirPods, but with a wire attached.
Yeah, for $9.99, you'll never lose another AirPod.
Shelly, the whole point of the freaking AirPods is that they're wireless. So you wear them because they don't have wires. Actually, let me see these for a second. You know what? They're actually pretty comfortable and kind of cool. Okay.
Seriously? I'm not letting you add a wire to your wireless earbuds. This product is insane,
Well, it
Ross.
depends on how you define insane.
Well, no, you wearing them right now is insane to me.
I don't mind. I think I look pretty good, actually.
You can't do it. I'm not letting you walk out.
By the way, I'm actually walking out here right now, and I actually think I look good with them on.
Ridiculous.
People are gonna act out.
Come back. You can't walk out the door looking like that, man. You can't.
While Shelly attempts to prevent Ross from committing a serious fashion faux pas, I'll tell you that this has been Think About This with Shelly Palmer and Ross Martin. If you think you know less than you did before, just wait for our next episode on the Westwood One Podcast Network.